Hey folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston back in the building again with the SPSEdge show, and I couldn't be with a greater group of people with my guy Terry McCoy Jr. So happy to be working with you with the things we had to talk about, and of course we always have Nassau with us. We call him Houston, I should say, because he's out here. I think he's in a tropical place. It's not just his screensaver. He's probably really in some tropical space. I think he's in the Florida Keys or off the coast or somewhere like that. But we appreciate Coach Orlando Watkins always staying connected with us and keeping us up. But Terry, we got a nice little lineup today. We won't go too heavy on football. We'll start with that in a second, but we're going to talk a little bit of basketball. Of course, the NBA kicked off last night. There was a ring ceremony, and I don't even know if we're going to call them things rings. Them things was like medallions or something like that, man. They changed the game up, but had that big kickoff. We talked a little bit of Michigan State. I just got off a press conference with Coach Izzo, so we got some hot off the press type feedback, and I definitely want to get your opinion, Terry, on what you thought about Coach Izzo's comments when I go into what we were asking him about, as well as the players. And also we'll finish up with talking about Michigan State getting ready to host Wisconsin on Christmas Day. This is a first in the Big Ten, Christmas Day basketball, college basketball on Christmas Day. I got a feeling the ratings are going to do really well. I got a feeling it's going to be a healthy alternative from the NBA, which we all love, but it'll be something to talk about. But to kick off the show today, fresh from the headlines, the Washington football team quarterback, Dwayne Haskins Jr., is under fire right now because after him trying to lead his team against a comeback and him trying to solidify a starting spot while his team tries to make the playoff, had a little off-field action going on, had a little situation with the lady friend that kind of got out of hand. And I guess the moral of the story as we talk about this is, lady friends, everything ain't for Instagram. Everything ain't to be posted. I shout out to my guy, Ty Bergen. I remember he posted something a long time ago. He said, man, everything don't have to get posted. And I get that. And me being in the media now and knowing the value of being able to post something and do that, that's important. But there's also a part about discretion and keeping things out the way. So as you know, Dwayne Haskins Jr. is under fire because he was allegedly caught in a strip club with no mask on. And people are saying it's not even about him not wearing a mask, it's the other people. And of course, this is posted by his what we would probably call his female companion. She seems to be somebody who's in the Haskins camp. There's photos on her on Instagram and social media really promoting their relationship. And she has ties back to the Michigan area. Her and her sister both shared some high basketball accolades. I won't even say Miss Basketball some time ago coming out the Benton Harbor era. But I don't really want to speak on her. I don't want to put her business out like that. I don't want to get into that. I'm only going off what's out the headlines. But from what you've seen so far, what do you make of the whole Haskins COVID protocol violation situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, I've grown to love Haskins since he was a starter at Ohio State.
Of course you have.
Having that, just watching him play and, him having that Rose Bowl win against Washington, it was like I was rooting for him ever since, being a quarterback in the NFL. And, he's had his ups and downs. I mean, a lot of people question his ability to read defenses and all that. And I'm like, well, give the guy some time. I mean, we're talking about a guy who started later in the year.
Yeah, who comes in the NFL ready to read? This is not the NBA. You can't
exactly
play. So thank you for that.
Right. And not only that, I mean, he didn't have a preseason this year. And then, not having a preseason, barely being able to train with the teammates and be able to get the chemistry back. He had a tough going, but, he's always a guy that stayed positive, was there for Alex Smith, constantly told, be patient, your time is coming. And, his time was here and got into some trouble, man. I mean, but I think, hopefully it is just a suite. I don't know if it is true that it was a suite. It might have been a strip club, but my whole thing is that whenever you're a team that's trying to make a playoff push, you want to, stay away and strain away from, any distractions. And I think this would be technically a distraction, not only for him, but the team, because now the team has to think, are we going to get our QB this week? Is he going to have any kind of punishment? Who's going to be the head of our offense coming into it as we try to win, this very bad NFC East and try to get a playoff home game. So, I mean, this is the last thing you want as a team that's trying to make a playoff push.
No, you're absolutely right. And you made a number of excellent points as it relates to preparing. But what's interesting to me, and this kind of falls along the lines of a moral question, it's like, if you're a team and you say that said person's actions were in violation of the team moving forward, you make a decision right then, and you say, okay, say a person is either suspended or whatnot. But they were quick to say, Terry, that it's going to be handled in house, which they say is another way of saying they're just going to fine him. Now you try to talk about fining first round draft pick in the NFL with about $4,300. Cuz I mean, come on. I mean,
we see the difference between, like, you know, we seen, you know, Adam Silver crack down on some, you know, like tonight. I don't know if you saw the Thunder and
yeah,
Rockets game
that
being
game got postponed, right?
and they didn't have enough players to perform the game, so they're like, you know, it's being postponed. But I think you see a strict difference between, you know, Roger Goodell and Adam Silver and their COVID punishment, you know, with breaking protocol. I mean, Adam Silver, I think if he was the commissioner of the NFL, he'd probably handle that very differently. As like Goodell is just like, you know, we'll let the teams handle it. It's not really gonna be up to me. And you know, like you said, the fine, man, it's just a little slap on the wrist, you know, because they need them.
Correct.
So
yeah, you know, and stand on that point before we transition. I think the reason why you see this disparity between the NFL and the NBA is I think Adam Silver is more invested, and that doesn't mean that he cares more about his brand and his logo than Roger Goodell is. But think about it: Adam Silver was deep in the bubble, and we'll talk about that in a second when we bring up some of these Michigan State players that I was talking to about, you know, this bubble-esque type experience they're having. But think about it: he went all summer long. Not only was he dealing with COVID issues, he was dealing with social justice, and he just said, "Listen, man, I got to own this." And let's not kid ourselves. When you compare the commissioners, you almost have like, and I don't want to make it very political, but it's almost like when you look at the current president's cabinet that lacks in diversity, and you look at the potential cabinet that's getting ready coming in with President-elect Biden that has so much diversity, I almost can equate the NFL and NBA to being almost similar. It's like the NBA is like, nah, man, our constituents are telling us this. Our decisions need to reflect the people who play this game, et cetera, et cetera. Compared to the NFL, he's like, yeah, okay, this is how we deal with it. But, you know, they say, you know, I just wonder if they're going to end up being penalized in the long run, not necessarily by the league, but just by karma, man. It's bad karma. Now, going back to Dwayne Haskins, come on, bro. You know, I guess he probably was on such a high that he thought he could get away with it. But then, man, you got to check your girl. You got to check your girl. Like, baby, like she blew it up. They got it off her Instagram page.
Right.
So I'm saying, listen, I know they're saying, you know, what's the benefit of me having all these great things, these trinkets, these, you know, nice things if I can't show it? But, baby, you got to use some discretion. You got to use some discretion. And I wonder how many young ladies are willing to run the risk of their situation getting blowed up for the sake of being able to stunt on the world. And for our viewers who are not familiar with the terminology stunt, Terry, you know, I'm not talking about a stunt man. I'm talking about really to show off.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, so I guess you can go to a young lady and say, listen, I give you whatever you want. You just can't tell nobody. How many of y'all really want it? Yeah. How many women would really say, okay, I'll take that deal. I'll be able to have all this lavishness and this, you know, high-end lifestyle, but I can't post about it. I can't tell nobody.
You know,
how many of them really want it?
The biggest thing, you know, the first example to me is, you know, Savannah James. I mean, LeBron James's wife. I mean, that's somebody that could probably floss, you know, because she was with LeBron back in the high school days. So, I mean, knowing that my boo is about to be the #1 draft pick, like for her to like work on her thing, and it shows how mature she is and how family minded, you know, and sound minded she is. You know, I'm not saying that she probably doesn't post about her husband or post about different things. There's some things that need to be posted, and there's some things that shouldn't be posted. We know that, you know, with our social medias, you know, some things not everyone needs to know about what you're doing. You know, some things just need to be kept in the house, and that's something that, you know, LeBron has probably taught Bronny at a young age, because Bronny has gotten some publicity at a young age. So that's something that he had to teach him. And, you know, Savannah James is probably a great example. You know, even same thing with Kobe's wife. I can't think of her name right now, but, you know, Kobe's wife, as she was going with Kobe. I mean, Kobe is a player that's up and going, you know, at his times, in his prime. She's not flossing, making big deals. And, you know, it's just something you just got to learn with dating a professional athlete.
Let me tell you something. What you did, Terry, you just broke this whole discussion down by a simple thing you said. Their wives. Savannah James is LeBron James' wife. Vanessa Bryant, and may Kobe rest in peace, is was his wife. So there was a different kind of investment. And I got a quick Savannah James story. Savannah James was on campus before with Ronnie at the MSU IM East when their team, I believe Blue Chips, traveling around playing. And I had a little conversation with her with all due respect to King James and whatnot, but she was real down to earth, real cool, and she had more money than anybody in there, but you couldn't tell. Now, when that sprinter pulled up and her bodyguard jumped out with creases in his jeans, I knew something was up. Okay. But I say that to say, you said it, Terry, coming out of your mouth. These are wives. See, that's the difference between how a wife handles things and how a girlfriend handles things. So if any young ladies out here listening, whether you listen to the Streets of Talking Podcast Network, shout out to Don Houston and shout out to Clarence Babor, or you listen to us right now, or you one of the many people on our Facebook Live right now, thanks to Coach Orlando Wash for sharing it. Hey, the difference is if you want to be a wife, you keep it low key. If you want to be a girlfriend, you'll be short-lived. But I tell you what, this relationship don't work out for whatever reason with Dwayne Haskins and this young lady, and if also he was already thinking, I don't know how this gonna go, she made it quite clear what's gonna happen. So you gotta learn from this. Don't post everything, boo-boo. You know, keep it low key. I got you iced out. Post a picture with your friends, but you got to be hip to what's going on. One of us got to be more in control. If you my lady, you got to hold me down and say, no, baby, let's follow this. But they mind don't get it, they gone. You know, and that's it.
And he's a black quarterback in a league where being an African American quarterback isn't really popular, isn't the thing that everyone's trying to promote all the time. So he definitely has to watch his steps. Same with Lamar, Deshaun, how they hold themselves. Jalen Hurts now, Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
the way they hold themselves got to be a different tier than what you see Big Ben or Brady or what I'm saying, or Rodgers. You got to hold yourself different.
He'll probably get the Medal of Freedom for freeing so many men from some of these young ladies they don't need to be with. But they go look at that girl and be like, man, would she do that to me? So I think that was good. Staying with the idea, let's get talking about Michigan State basketball. Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans will be hosting Coach Greg Gard and the Wisconsin Badgers on Christmas Day at 12 noon. Happy to say SPS will be in the building. By that time, I spent my time with my baby girl, Madeline. And I have Christmas Day to be guilt-free in there, dealing with some college basketball, and of course, dealing with some NBA basketball. But I had a chance to talk to both Gabe Brown, who's been having a great season, as well as Aaron Henry, who I think we're going to be seeing him play on Christmas next year in the NBA, I believe that. So let's go to that quick segment that I have with them, and we can talk about that for a second. So here I got Gabe and Aaron. Whenever they're ready.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Great, thank you. Hey guys, staying with the NBA theme, the whole idea of the bubble, we know what that was like in Orlando, being locked down, one place, one hotel. But with the parents coming in for the holiday, has this been like a bubble type experience for you guys? And if so, what has it been like, not being the NBA level, but on the collegiate level? What has that been like?
It's been I think it's been very good for us as a team. I feel like we're more connected since we got our own little bubble, our own little thing that we stand by. I mean, of course we be around each other and we be in the gym all the time, and that's good, but outside of the gym we always with each other and we always want to make sure we got everybody back. So I feel like this little bubble in our inner circle is very good for us.
And a quick follow-up, how easy is it for us to underestimate the power of your parents coming to visit? I mean, we take that for granted during COVID, but how easy is that, Aaron? You kind of nod your head. What do you think?
Man, I miss my parents. But, I mean, as you get older, you got to do certain things to kind of, I don't want to say grow out of it, but you got to separate a little bit. I understand that. But, it's good calling my dad and calling my mom, but I feel like around this time they would have been up for a game or two. Would have been good to get a hug or something, But outside of that, no, I ain't missing nothing. Of course I want to see my parents, but there's no drop off from how I'm supposed to play or how I'm supposed to be around this time.
I get it. Thank you both for that.
Yeah, what's your take on that? And before you even say that, I feel sad because the disadvantage of doing everything virtually, yeah, we can zoom in to a press conference, but in the perfect world, I would have been at a practice. And I felt so bad for Gabe Brown because what we weren't able to address is that his father is not here. So just as you have his teammate gleefully thinking about, his parents, I know in Gabe's mind, that's like, my dad can't be here because he passed away. And I know that's part of his motivation. And but what's your take on the bubble discussion and the parents getting involved? And what's your take on that, Terry?
I think, it's kind of how I felt about how the NBA bubble was going on. I mean, you see guys like LeBron posting about, on the, at making it seem like they was going to serve a prison sentence. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an investment. It's an investment, to play the game that you love. And it takes a lot of sacrifice. I mean, Coach Jones would tell us, during playoff season, during the state playoffs, that Kobe Bryant wouldn't talk to his family or wouldn't even talk to his wife a lot of the times during the NBA playoffs because he was so focused. And, a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, like Justin Fields, he's put himself isolated and away from a bunch of people and just focused on playing, school, and just working on winning the Heisman, hopefully, and winning the national championship. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about sacrifice and being disciplined. I mean, one thing, Gabe Brown and Aaron Henry can say about their sacrifice is that they're healthy, they're able to play the game that they love, and they're able to help their team win. Knowing a guy like Justin Fields and Aaron Henry, if they're not on the field, their team is going to hurt. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, at the end of the day, you think about your family not being there, and it sucks, not being able to be around your family. But I think, with a great support system, they understand. They're going to find a way to be there for you. And like just how the NBA was able to bring, families down to the bubble in Orlando during the playoffs, and they were willing to follow the rules, 0 COVID cases, the entire bubble, COVID cases, the whole bubble, scenario. So I think, I think that was a great, I like to call the NBA as being like the guinea pig. And so now that the colleges see that, how they can bring parents in, because this is a holiday, you know what I mean? You're used to seeing your parents at this time where, college may be going tough. You may going through a tough stretch playing, and you see your parents, and that's the energy you need to keep going. So I'm excited to see how MSU does it. I know families are going to follow the rules. They get to see their kid. They get to see him shine. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that more when I bring up Tom Izzo in the discussion that we had right after this. And again, shout out to the Streets of Talking Podcast Network. Shout out to the great work that both Don Houston and Clarence Barbour are doing. You can get us there at www.thestreetsoftalking.com. And we're blowing up, man. We're on every Saturday and Sunday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, I want to say. And then also Mondays and Tuesdays, I want to say at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. But you're right, man. Aaron kind of really hit on it, talking about, the bubble experience. And also Gabe talked about, the thing they got going on. Tom Izzo has really worked to create a different atmosphere that we're going to end up seeing on Christmas Day. They got a lot of new cutouts that have come in. He even talked about Julius Marble's dad, who deceased, who passed. I know Coach Watkins know about Julius Marble, Roy Marble, that is. His dad passing away, and they had a cutout in there, and it kind of gave him they said the response they got was what they didn't expect, because Julius was very emotional about it. So Coach Dwayne Stevens, DJ, goes over to talk to him, and Dwayne's dad is up as a cutout too. So there's a lot of emotions going on, and I don't know if Tom is trying to be this wizard or warlock, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there for, despite them falling to Northwestern like they did, that they can really work to bring that back. So let me go to my discussion with Tom, and want to get your take on that and what you took from it. And what we were on. So here we go. Here's Coach Tom Izzo right here.
Depressed with us, but impressed with them.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, I've been watching your press conferences like you watch Game Film. So bear with me as I make this observation. I think it'd be good if your fellow coaches nominated you the dean of the COVID era college coaches based on all that you've been through and how you've kind of taken this measured approach. Sometimes you're zen-like when you talk to us, but also professorial too, as far as looking at the effort that the players had that led to the problem, but also realizing that maybe the parents coming up may be a solution. So what do you think about that overall observation?
Well, I'm hoping that's true, but maybe, I'm so honest with you guys, and I tell you exactly how I feel after a game. And maybe I'm making too big a deal out of, when somebody shot good against us, like Oakland did, I did not think there was a lack of effort on defense. That's why I didn't tell you guys. So, we had one game, And it was after finals. And I don't want to make light of it, but I don't want to make the world of it. I mean, if some parents can come up in that, which they are going to be able to, I mean, I think that's going to be great. I mean, I think these kids have been through hell, you know, but it's been the same for everybody. Been the same for everybody. And, you know, different states have approached it differently, and different conferences have approached it differently. And I think you bring up a good point there. You watch some games in Indiana, and there's a few fans there, which means the parents are there. You watch some games down south, and it's almost a full house. You know, it's just different, and we can't do anything about it. But you bring up a good point. I wonder what players think when they're watching another game and see, you know, their families or girlfriends or anybody else that can go to those games. Maybe it has some effect on them. And I said that to you, you know, we're going to have to deal with this strangeness of a season. And I told you at the beginning of the year, he who handles it best. Maybe we didn't handle it very well, but that was one game, you know. I said we weren't the fourth best team. I think there's 2 or 3 teams, maybe 4 teams that are head and shoulders above the rest. And then there's 30 teams that they've been jockeying. God, there's been teams that go from, hell, Virginia went from 2 to 18. You know, it's the way it's going to be right now. Because I don't think anybody has a good feel, because not only do we not know who each other has, but there's so many transfers out there, and some have worked out good, and some have been a disaster. So you don't know that, and until a team gets more games, you really don't even know who you're playing sometimes. So that's going to be part of the trick, and I'm going to have to be psychologically honed in on those things and realize there could be other factors, and we just got to stay with the grind. And that's what we told our guys. They knew that they did not bring it. It wasn't a lack of, like I said, when you practice bad, you usually play bad. We got a saying out here, what starts out bad usually ends bad. We didn't practice bad. Now, we didn't practice 100 miles an hour the whole time because we were off 2 days. We had finals. We had strange thing this year. We had, I think, 5 kids with finals on Friday. You know, usually the profs give them earlier and get, I mean, you know, so one of those things. But there's so many games left. And I think you guys should appreciate that the league is so damn good that I just don't know how many upsets there's going to be. I really don't. I mean, I think there's a lot of good teams out there, and you're going to have to play good every night to win games.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Terry. That's Coach Tom Izzo. He had a mouthful. And let me just first say, man, I talk about a lot on my Monday motivation. You know, not living in fear, but living in purpose. Man, let me tell you something. Despite us being in a pandemic, the fact that I get to complete that thought to Coach Tom Izzo and be able to talk about the fact that I spend time looking at the press conferences, because I don't have the personal interaction like I normally would being face-to-face, but just following this thread of this mental discourse that Tom Izzo has been having. It's a Hall of Fame coach. And to be able to have this platform, our own platform, that we can share that, pose these type of questions, and to get that kind of feedback, you know, I'm very appreciative of it. And to anybody out there who has a thought, has a dream, has something they want to work on, here's an example of dream fulfilled. Somebody say, oh, you just asked Tom Izzo a question. But no, it's not about that. It's the fact that I can spend my day preparing for that, having that dialogue, and then being able to see what the outcome is. Because basically we're trying to figure out, okay, did they drop this game to Northwestern because they were just under a tremendous amount of pressure? Finals, you know, big schedule, Big Ten, a great Northwestern team. Let's not take anything away from them, as well as being in this bubble where they've been disconnected from their family for so long. So we'll know if that's a great hypothesis going forward come Friday when I talk to Coach Izzo after the Michigan State versus Wisconsin game. So what's your thoughts? That was a whole lot, but what are you thinking, Derek?
Yeah, I thought that was key for him too, to talk about you know, how tough their week was. And it gave, you know, a little props to how tough the Big Ten is going to be this year. I mean, I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite in the Big Ten in my eyes. I think, you know, everyone's kind of leaning towards and feeling good about Iowa or Michigan State. But, I mean, you see Northwestern and Boo Buie and, you know, kind of, show MSU that, that they're here to play. So, I mean, having that being said, though, I mean, it sounded like he was saying it was like a trap game, one of those kind of games where, like they say in college football, where you travel out west and it'd be like 90 degrees, like that Arizona State game MSU played a couple years ago. They traveled to Arizona State, 90 some degrees out, dry, jet lag, you're tired. Those are like trap games. Those are games where you just go there, get the win and get out. You know what I mean? So I think, having that being said about having finals on Friday and then having having to go from studying and then having a quick transition to that Sunday game, it can be tough. And it's like, it's what a student athlete has to go through, not to mention COVID, not to mention, because people need other people around them to bring energy, and they weren't able to have, the fans there, which granted they were at Northwestern, but I mean, some people thrive with that negative energy, the crowd energy. So, I mean, it was a tough scenario. I think Izzo really hit it. I think, he's realizing that players need, some extra love. They need some extra, being showing some empathy for them and, being sympathetic for them, understanding that, I understand you. I'm in your shoes for a minute. I understand what you're going through. This isn't something that's normal. Everyone is having a moment of uncertainty, whether it's like, do I have this guy? You know what I mean? Or some players are like, I got to stay safe. Am I going to catch COVID tomorrow? Because that's something that we worry about. You know what I'm saying?
Especially if your family's been impacted by it.
Especially, yeah. So, I mean, not only your family be impacted by it, you're playing against different people. You don't know where people have been. It's tough. I mean, COVID's spreading like crazy. So I think it's tough. I'm glad that Izzo has came to that, realization that, this is hard on students. My biggest priority is, of course, winning. But right now, it's more than winning. It's more about my players. And just seeing him have that approach this year since the beginning, it's not like he just switched now that they lost, like, Coach K would say.
Right.
It's good. It's good to see that from a college coach. I mean, these are 18, 21-year-olds. These are still young adults that need that love and care right now.
No, you made an excellent point. Especially, what I noticed on the call, and that's the benefit of, like, I really do mean, I go over the press conferences like he would go over game film, and I pick up on things he said that even after the loss to Northwestern, he even said, he was like, he kind of came to the conclusion on his own. He was like, yeah, it may be that. Because I think he's such a hard charger. He has a reputation for just pushing. That I think he's realizing that there's some nuances in this. And talk about a trap game. Here, I got the answer to why they lost. At the end of the day, when Northwestern got their schedule, and it said opening game in Big Ten against Michigan State. Do you think they circled that? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
But when Michigan State got their schedule, and it said opening game against Northwestern, did Michigan State circle that game? Absolutely not. So there we got it. We figured it out. Now, the issue is why one team did and one team did not. But I mean, we know why that is, but how do you almost got to say, man, you got to give that up. No coach is going to say, yeah, we're going to just get that win up. But if you think about the Big Ten season, the fact that they shared the Big Ten championship last year with Wisconsin, man, I remember going to these games, and then when they said, yeah, if Michigan State wins, they can win a share of the Big Ten. I said, as many games as they lost, the Big Ten is just such a tough league. And surprisingly, you don't have to win, like you don't have to run the table, so to speak, in the Big Ten because it's so competitive. But I just think of something. And one other thing I want to say about the Big Ten too, and this is no hate, Terry. I'm only saying this because we're recorded and you have an excellent memory. And I want you to call me out on this going forward. If I'm right, you don't got to blow me up. And if I'm wrong, you can call me out. But I think Rutgers stock may be a little inflated. Now, what do I mean by that? Ron Harper Jr., not taking them away from him. Coach Peichel has been doing a great job, whatnot. I think the big hype around Rutgers is they're so not used to it being a competitive team. In my view, what's to say Rutgers is not like an Ohio State? What's to say Rutgers isn't like, I'm trying to think of what other big Maryland. It's kind of like they're like, oh, Rutgers this, Rutgers that. But I'm like, man, I think their stock may be inflated. And the only reason I say this is because whatever adversity have they overcome. I don't mean individually as a program with some personal thing. I mean as a team playing. you've seen the adversity at Michigan State. What history of adversity does your program have? And what history do you have overcoming that? So until I can see Rutgers battle it out, in and out, be able to handle this high regard everyone has for them, until I see all that, I'm willing to argue that Rutgers may be a little inflated with the stock. No fault of their own. And I can't wait to get with my guy, Stephen Bardo, who does a lot of the Big Ten Network games, and just ask him what he thinks to put that out there. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I think you could say that with Illinois. I think you could say that a little bit with Penn State coming up a little bit. A lot of these teams. I mean, Maryland has had a great history of some good basketball teams. So maybe still not much about Maryland, but I feel like that they've been recently competitive. Wisconsin, I feel like this is why I think the game coming up for Michigan State is going to be tough, but I think they'll be able to pull it through. Wisconsin is they have a reputation. They don't foul very much. They play tough defense. They're very disciplined. If you're playing tough defense on them, they're so comfortable with playing within the shot clock. If they don't get a shot off till 1 and the buzzer go off, they're fine. They make the bucket. They get off a solid shot. It's hard to rush them. It's one of those teams where it's led by Travis Trice. I think Demetric Trice, Travis Trice's brother, him leading. I think they need to stop him. I feel like he orchestrates it, but Wisconsin is a very solid team. They're always competitive. Like last year, I didn't really see them maybe getting a share. I always thought it was Michigan State, Maryland. When Michigan State had that big win at Maryland last year towards the end of the year, I was like, okay, Michigan State kind of has it, but Wisconsin, they're there. They're going to continue to push, but I think with the Big Ten, I mean, you always have to bring it, like Izzo was basically saying, you got to bring it every day, because you never know what kind of team you're going to get. But I feel like, like I said earlier about Michigan State and how their defense travels and they have a great fast break and transition offense, I think is going to help them. And I think it's going to help, with their runs that MSU has been, famously known as. Where's MSU going to get that run? When is that run going to come in?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I mean, I think Rutgers is hungry. Hopefully they keep it up because, I mean, it's good to see a program that hasn't been that good since they've been kind of decent with Corey Sanders. But I think now that, Michigan State is where they're at and Wisconsin is there, Illinois is getting there, you're seeing some teams make those jumps, and I hope Rutgers is next.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned Illinois because, to be honest, I think Illinois is more bona fide than Rutgers, only because they have a little bit more of a body of work. Over the past 2 seasons, you saw how they took Michigan State down to the wire. They were always out there competing. At this point, we don't really have any film on Rutgers to say that. And again, I'm not hating. I would love to see them be successful, but I know we've been talking about Rutgers so much. But I'm like, okay, it's one thing for a team to get the hype coming in, but hell, they may take a hit from a Purdue. Matt Painter's team always comes to play. Purdue is not ranked right now, but think about the history of a program. I would defer more to Purdue's program and their style of play over Rutgers, only because there's been more consistency with it. And I think no matter what, even if these guys are playing good behind the play of Ron Harper Jr. and that great guard play, I just don't think that team has enough of a body of work that's going to live up to the expectations. Because let people tell it. They're telling like Rutgers going to win the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? And again, I got no beef with Rutgers. I love Piscataway. I drove to Piscataway last season to go cover the Michigan State Spartans playing football against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. I didn't get a chance to go to the famous rack, so I got nothing but love, but I just want to be mindful of that. And talking more about Wisconsin, that's another program that's been through a lot of adversity. My good friend Howard Moore was on the coaching staff there, and he had a life tragedy and still experiencing some health issues. So all these teams are carrying something. But the reason why I wanted to push, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, on the idea of Tom Izzo being the dean of the college COVID era coaches, is because you look at the John Calipari, he had to sit a player down because of what's going on. You look at Duke, and they're probably not going to have the success that they normally had this season. Who else we got? Roy Williams. Man, he just trying to forget about last season, I bet, before we got right. So you look at all these guys, and I try to listen to them, and the Mark Few's of the world, and I think that Tom may have edged these guys out as far as overcoming adversity when you talk about not only what they went through last season dealing with the death of Cassius' brother, but also what the program has just been enduring over the past few seasons in general. Then you bring it up to present day and Tom actually getting COVID. And I tell you, man, Tom is a fire and brimstone coach. I would definitely refer to him as the last of the Mohicans of the fire and brimstone coaches.
Right.
But now in this COVID era, like I said in there, he's taking this, he gets kind of zen with us sometimes. And again, this is not me just going off this field. This is me going back and chronicling every time we talk to him based on what's going on. And I just think that amongst this top level, those elite coaches, the Bill Selfs of the world, I think Tom is kind of like the Zen master right now. He's kind of like filling things out a little bit. He's kind of being a little bit looser with his thinking and not being so rigid with his thinking. And I think that's what's going to help him be successful overall going forward. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, one thing that I feel like Izzo has learned the most this year is the art of being vulnerable. I mean, there are times in the year where, with COVID happening to him, Cassius Winston's brother passing, and, and Coach Dwayne Stevens, his father passing, there's been a lot of vulnerable states that people have been feeling, throughout his program and people involved with the program. So I think him learning how important it is to be vulnerable right now during COVID, being able to open up, like I mentioned, like we mentioned earlier, Izzo is being more open with the media, being able to show his emotion, let him know how he's feeling. He even said it like right now, he's gonna keep it real. And so now, being open about that and not just going with the cliche, I feel like it's helped him. And it's kind of like a therapy session. I mean, for a coach to be up there and be able to, you guys that like not only your questions, but there may be some others, but especially yours that ask these very well thoughted, causing you to actually take some time, think about your answer and just let it out. And I feel like that's something that he's been benefiting the most from, being vulnerable with the players and let them understand how they may be feeling. I think that's a key for him, and seeing how players that are able to, feel vulnerable and seeing how they change and how they, bounce back from that, from that moment. And I think it's very key for him. And I think being able to be vulnerable now and pushing through this now and getting all like the loss with Northwestern, I mean, it's one of those games where you just throw the tape out. You know what I mean? It's like you know why you lost. Don't even sit, marinate on it. See, man, oh man, like don't even just throw the tape out. We got a big game this week. Let's focus on that. All eyes on this game. It's one of those things you can't change what happened. Yeah, do you regret, suffering your first loss against Northwestern? You do. But at the same time, man, there's bigger things to accomplish this year. You guys got caught slacking a little bit, but like I said, that's a vulnerable moment again for MSU. And Izzo took the right approach, feeling for his team, not just blaming, going all out on players, not being so fiery, but like, look, we had finals, we had these things that happen. Not to make excuses, but like, right. I understand they may be tired, but it is what it is. We're on to Wisconsin, so I think he's had the right approach this whole year.
Yeah, very good. I agree. And a term I like to use, that he's not making excuses; he's giving an explanation. So right. He's not saying it's okay, but he's realizing those things, and that vulnerability is right. And I think that's a lot to say, considering Tom Izzo on who he is and who he's been. Well, we're going to continue to keep an eye on Michigan State basketball. I will be in the building on Christmas Day checking that out, and I know you'll keep me up with what's going on. I'll probably be watching the game with the NBA on a little bit, because that's just part of the course. But that's it. So speaking of that, we can transition with the remainder of time that we have here. And again, shout out to the Streets of Talking Podcast Network down in Houston and Clarence Babor doing the thing. And whoever's hearing our voice, we want to wish you guys many blessings, because when you hear this recording, if you're not listening to it live, you'll be hearing it post Christmas, and we can't wait to share good news. So let's talk about the NBA. You've done your due diligence, I'm sure, Terry, with the NBA opening night preview. Why don't you take us through that, man?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, the Nets beat the Warriors 125-99.
Can we stop for a second? Did you see the post-game interview between Charles Barkley and Kevin Durant?
I didn't see that one.
That is going to light up the internet. That's going to be a meme. So clearly, okay, we're going to do this post-game thing. And the time we have, let me just express this thing about KD. I like KD. I have people who are very close to KD in this family. I got nothing bad to say. However, KD is the kind of guy who gets overly influenced based on the company he's in. When he went to the Warriors, he became this tough guy, which was not really his persona. He had backup. Now, I think he's taking on a lot of the tendencies of Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving has the ability to be, aloof, mysterious, sometimes say, difficult to deal with. So post game, and I don't know if this goes back to a history of some bad blood between both Charles Barkley and Kyrie Irving, but post game, Charles is asking Kyrie, asking a very straightforward question to Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant gives a one-word answer, which we all know in the media is kind of like, what's that about? So this whole thing that Kyrie has been on talking about, he's not talking to the press or talking to the media, I think that's being influenced, that influence is being passed on to Kevin, and it kind of bothers me because it's one thing to say, I ain't talking to y'all, y'all said something bad about me, I'm straight. That's one thing. But dude, y'all go be this united front and have this poor media type of interaction, or you go pick and choose, that's just disappointing. So as you take us through, maybe I can pull that up and we could talk about it. But tell me more about that. And I just had to mention that as it relates to Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so I mean, Kyrie, KD had 22, Kyrie had 26. The guy that surprised me the most, was not only did Kevin Durant, they said he's about 90%, but he looked dang near 100%. So, I mean, give him a couple more games, we're going to see the Kevin Durant we've seen. But a guy that I like to see and had a pretty good game that game was James Wiseman and Karis LeVert. I mean, Karis LeVert, almost had a triple-double, but I mean, he did all, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists in 25 minutes. I mean, that's a solid 6. I mean, he might end up being 6th man of the year, maybe in the running if he keeps it up like that.
You almost wonder, is he better served to be in Brooklyn or somewhere else because he's coming off?
Yeah. And I thought about that. But my thing is like, if he's not really being so vocal about it, I keep it. I mean, it's very important. I think the Warriors would say, and LeBron would say, to have a guy come off the bench and be able to produce like that. So, I mean, if he's not very vocal about it and he's cool with his role, I wouldn't say keep him there or hold him there, but I mean, I'd let it roll.
You know who that's going to rest on, whose job that's going to rest on to convince him is going to be Mike D'Antoni. You know why? Yeah. Because Steve Nash doesn't have the coaching pedigree to be able to say it, but Mike D can say, you know what, man? Let me tell you how important your role is. Let me tell you from my experience in the NBA as a coach over all these years, how important your role is. I think he's going to be the one to have to sell that,
Right. And I think the big thing, I think Steve Nash, I mean, having D'Antoni, a guy that he's seen and has played under, kind of implement the same kind of style and seeing, like you mentioned, being able to tell him, like, this is where you fit in, this is where you thrive in. And I think LeVert, not seeing much of a drop-off really since, his bubble where he was playing incredible in the bubble. But not seeing a major drop-off in stats. And if he can do this, consistently in the 25 minutes, they might, put up his minutes. But also they were winning. So, I mean, he probably played 25 minutes because, you got guys like Andrew Wiggins and Oubre combining for 7 out of 30 shots being made, and having like 19 points for both of them. So Curry didn't get much help, but Wiseman is somebody who I really thought, started to have some fun in the end. I mean, we saw him hit a 3, and he gets in the corner, hit another one. They thought it was a fluke, so he goes and hit another one, get a little pick, calls for a lob. I mean, he's starting to have fun. He's starting to embrace that role of like, okay,
and look, don't normally get that kind of burn to get in there and to get that kind of experience. You see his recent coach has got an extension. Shout out to Penny Hardaway for the 5-year extension at University of Michigan. Memphis worth $12.5 million. So shout out to Penny, keeping it fresh. Hey, before we go and get into the latter part of what happened, let me play this Kevin Durant interview, if you don't mind, man, because it's a little concerning for me. I'm saying, oh, that's the way you want to go. It's kind of like it's that whole, oh man, come on, let's go. We go lead together type thing. Like when Bow Wow and like who was it? Bow Wow and like Omarion walked off the set together. Just check this out.
there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year. So you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah. Let me see that again. Yeah. Let me see that one more time. That was that we don't know. Because you do things sometimes we don't know. I don't remember. You don't know the reaction shot. See that one more time. The reaction shot. I don't know. Y'all guys, I have no idea.
You know, Kevin, there was talk about you coming back for the playoffs last year. So you really just been working on your game, trying to get back your timing and conditioning, really, to be honest, correct?
Yeah.
That's it, man. Here's the thing. Terry, I don't think that attitude is going to beat LeBron James and win a world championship. I don't think that approach. So clearly he's feeling some kind of way.
What you think? Well, listen.
Oh, my bad.
We expect them to play well together. We really didn't know how
clearly
to play and mesh with the other guys.
He's feeling some kind of way. And he's making that known because this is your first interview back. You're on TNT. I mean, everybody knows that's the show. And again, whether you got a beef with Charles is one thing, but you think that attitude and being rogue is going to win you a world championship? I don't know. I'm let down by that.
I don't think so. I mean, I think, you always have to watch what you say with the media, but I mean, we've seen great, media interactions with players. I mean, LeBron, he has had his moments where they've asked him some weird questions and, he's kind of responded a little weird, but he's never had like an immediate shut off, him or Curry, or, you see guys who, I wouldn't say have a playful relationship, but I mean, it's media. I mean, at the same time, these people are trying to do their jobs. You have to talk to them. You have to talk to them in here. Why not have a healthy relationship? I mean, I do understand that they can kind of twist. And I think Kyrie has had that where they have been calling Kyrie a horrible teammate. And, KD, everyone keeps talking about the injury. I don't know if it was a sensitive topic for him. I'm not sure. But
was he trying to add some solidarity with Kyrie? Okay, yeah. He got a tight relationship with the media. They get kind of tight right now, meaning not good. So I'm going to do that. And also Kevin Durant, and I'm going to let you finish that. I apologize. But Kevin Durant has been known for being one of the most sensitive superstars out there. And I'm not knocking him, but I just don't like that. I don't like the message he sends. Now, Charles has said something, y'all got to hit you. That's one thing. But come on, dude. You going to be like this, but then you want to turn around. I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't see it being sustainable for them to get the success they want to have. That's all.
Yeah, and if he's I don't know if he's being that sensitive now. If things get tough, which every team is going to face adversity, I don't know how much longer it's going to be, for them to hit that, I don't know. I mean, hit that end of the road where it gets tough and they can't really come from it. Just like how the Steelers are going through right now, where they're getting a lot of attention. They start losing. Everybody just starts mentally breaking down and they can't really come back from it. So.
See, and as we get ready to transition and use the last 5 minutes, so you take us to the Clippers in LA. At the end of the day, LeBron got his rings. Now I know Kevin got his, but LeBron got his. He's on his way to get more. I just think that I remember when LeBron went to Miami, he got dogged so bad because of the decision, right, wrong, and indifferent, that he admits that he took on a bad guy persona. He said, but the challenge is that that's not who he is. And I just don't really feel that Kevin is that. Now Kyrie can probably be that 24/7. But Kevin, my thing is that if that is not who you are, the emotional energy you have to put into being somebody you're not is only going to distract from what you're trying to do. That's just my thought. And again, you got a great memory, Terry. I want you to bring us back to this later in the season. Say, hey man, remember when you said, the opening season, what was up with that? We'll keep an eye on that. But I wish nothing but the best for Kevin Durant and New York, I'm tripping, talking about the Brooklyn Nets, excuse me. So with the time that we have, Terry, you do such a great job in these previews. If we can move on, talk about the ring ceremony last night. And I'll just quickly say as my 2 cents, the Clippers won, but the real win went to the Lakers because they picked up their ring. Now, if somebody told you the opening night of the NBA season, would you rather win a game or pick up your championship ring? Now, you tell me what people go say.
I mean, they're gonna take the ring for sure. I mean, that's a year's worth
The
of work.
ring
right
that was
there.
on the turntable,
Right.
spinning around, that looked like a freaking something in orbit or something like that. Every year they turn it up even more. But yeah, so with the time that we had, we got about a good 5 or so minutes. Tell us about last night's game between the Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers.
But with the ceremony, I mean, I feel like they were a little distracted. They didn't seem like they really cared about this one. I think the Clippers took the right, took a good approach to it. I think Paul George silenced the critics for right now. After he getting his 5-year guaranteed $226 million.
This regular season.
I mean, Paul George. I mean,
let's see if playoff P show up though when the offs come.
I hope so, but I mean, at this point, I mean, I think in his mind, he's like, I can only do what I can do right now. So I mean, he's balling right now so far. I think the best thing you could take away from that is, having a guy like Kyle Kuzma, having 15 points, shooting 6 of 11 from the field goal. I think that's key. Schroeder didn't shoot too well, but there were moments where Schroeder did play well. Harold had a double-double. So I mean, the guys who hope to make a kind of stride this year and help the Lakers, they played pretty well. I think that would be like their plus. AD's gonna step it up. I think AD is gonna probably be, if not the best player on the court Christmas Day. I think LeBron's probably gonna get a trip dub, but I mean AD's gonna go off, kind of bounce back from that. But I think the Clippers, their takeaway, Kawhi didn't really shoot too well, but Paul George made the most of his money, playing well. And Lou Williams, he played for the most part pretty well. I mean, he gave you his buckets like he's a professional scorer. That's what he does. He comes off the bench and scores you points. So, I mean, there are 2 takeaways that I think, the Lakers would have liked to win, losing 116 to 109. But, I mean, I think both teams can definitely take positives and moving forward from this game 1.
Yeah, very good analysis. Well, I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen load management before, you're going to see it like no other with the Los Angeles Lakers. They have to do it. Am I a little concerned about this new mesh? I love Montrezl Harrell coming in. They do talk about the potential of missing Dwight Howard, and I think we really won't know until you have to battle and get through the season. But the Lakers look good, man. They're poised to win again. I think from an emotional standpoint, they can care less about that game. I wouldn't be surprised had they dropped that game if it was not the ring ceremony. Or if it was a Christmas Day game. They'll drop a Christmas Day game like, whatever, dude. LeBron James is going into his 18th season.
Yeah.
His basketball career was a child. It is old enough to drive and go to the military. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got a grown man game, literally. You know what I'm saying?
Same age as me, man. I'm 18 right now. He's played as long as I've been alive. He got drafted in 2003. And I was born in 2002, so that should go to say something. I feel like I've been
18-year-old I know. So if that's any reference, it's a good thing. So no, I think it's gonna be good to watch. I look forward to the Christmas Day. Can you just run through the Christmas Day games in order real quick?
Yeah, so I got I think the 12 o'clock game. The first game is Pelicans at the Heat, Warriors at the Bucks. They got Nets at Celtics, Mavericks at Lakers, and then you got Clippers at the Nuggets. So
with the time we have, without too much of a deep analysis, give me your predictions for those games going through.
Okay, so I got, first game, I got the Heat. I think Bam and Jimmy gonna have a good game, good Christmas game.
They gotta have a good game coming out the bubble and what they did. They gotta have a good game, yeah.
Oh yeah. And then Warriors at Bucks. I think Oubre and Wiggins gonna have a good game, but I think the Bucks are gonna be too much. Holidays, having that game with Giannis, I think is gonna.
Giannis got to prove his worth. That max deal, talking about 228, baby.
Oh yeah.
228. What's up?
And I think the Nets are gonna beat the Celtics. I think the Celtics are a little low on firepower with Kemba being out right now, and I think Kyrie's gonna have some fun beating up on his own teammates and him and KD.
Let them burn the sage. Who there? I don't know. Is that game gonna be in Brooklyn?
It's gonna be at the Celtics. So
yeah, TD Garland. So I guess they're gonna let him burn the sage because he burned it before.
Maybe.
if you were president of basketball operations, would you approve the request for Kyrie to burn sage? They gotta approve it.
I mean, it's Kyrie. I mean, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do
They'll
it.
They'll probably get more bad PR by saying no.
Yeah.
So let them do it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I'd go ahead and
let them do it in the playoffs. Because the late great Red Auerbach wouldn't let them do nothing. But go ahead with the time we have. What else you got for the remaining game?
So I got the Nets winning that one. Mavericks at Lakers. I think Luka's gonna put on a show. I got him on my fantasy basketball team, so hopefully. But I mean, I think the Lakers are gonna win that one for sure. I think it's a good bounce back win. I mentioned earlier, I think LeBron's gonna get some crazy triple double score, kind of stat, but AD's gonna go off. And to end it off, this one I was kind of, a little coin toss on this one. The Clippers at the Nuggets, but I think the way that Paul George has been playing. I think the slight edge maybe to the Clippers. The Nuggets, their first game, I believe is tonight or tomorrow. I think it's tonight. So, I mean, seeing that, it might change. But right now, I'm going to go off what I've seen. I've seen 33 points at PG-13. So, I'm going to go with the Clippers then.
Yeah, it may be a little crack in the armor for Denver right now because Orlando talking about Nuggets all the way. My concern about Orlando is did the talk of a potential trade between Jamal Murray and James Harden put a little chink in their armor? To where it's saying, is this team, is this unit going to stay together? And the last question I got, was that LeBron James' influence to play the Mavericks on Christmas Day to showcase Luka? Because they talk about LeBron.
It is true.
Start a brand and focus on Luka. Because when I first heard Mavericks and Lakers, I was like, huh? What was that about? But there's a thing to showcase Luka and LeBron, maybe so.
Yeah, I mean, I think he, if I remember correctly, has the best odds to win MVP. So I think this would be a good opportunity for him to keep those odds up and have a great Christmas Day game. Everyone watches the Christmas Day game, so
that's a big money game for the league. I get it. Well, Terry, I want to thank you for what you've done. We're coming to the close of the hour. I want to thank the Streets of Watching Podcast Network. Of course, thank Coach Orlando Watkins, who's somewhere enjoying tropical weather right now. He's thinking of us, but he's definitely enjoying the tropical weather. And with that, we're going to just wrap up the SPS Edge show. We appreciate you guys. Appreciate your support. We'll be back at it next week. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for supporting.